Hey there everyone, it's Friday and I'm back with a Color Friday video, and today I thought I would change things a little bit and not use watercolors like I did for my last two videos. So I'm showing you what I'm going to use today. I'm going to use some Bristol boards and some Inktense pencil, and yeah, that's about it. And today I've decided to finally get around making an icon for my YouTube channel because I don't have one at the moment, and I thought it would be nice to do a video for that. So that's going to be very pale. You're not going to see much of that right now. I'm just tracing a rectangle. That's going to be my frame for my jar because I'm going to draw a jar. And I'm really sorry you can't see it, but I've used a very, I tried to show you, but it's very faint. I've used a very light pencil and I'm starting drawing my jar, and it's going in and out of focus for the next maybe couple of minutes. I didn't realize that I didn't turn off the autofocus, so I apologize for that. And I'm not very, I can sort of draw. I, let's just say I don't have a lot of confidence in my drawing abilities, so to do this jar on camera was quite a challenge for me, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I hope you will enjoy it as much as I did. I think it looks very good in the end. It's not just a drawing. I'm also very challenged with shadows and shading and transparency. So drawing a jar and coloring a jar was quite the challenge for me, but we got there in the end. So I'm correcting my lines because that was a bit higher on the side, and tracing a few circles. I don't try to trace circles. I just use my my guide or a jar or whatever, or cup if I need a bigger one, or even a compass if I have to. I really hate drawing circles. And I'm drawing some lines because I'm drawing some balls of threads. Do you see where I'm going there? I'm drawing a jar of thread. How? Yep. I do have a jar of thread that looks slightly different than the one I'm drawing. I put all my ends of thread in. That looks a lot more, how can I say, a lot messier than this pretty jar of thread that I'm drawing right now. And I've jumped and went ahead and drawn all the balls of yarns. And now I'm adding the tail that comes out of the jars, of the one jar. I'm not quite sure why I put an S in this one, because I wanted to have some thread coming out. And some of it goes behind the jar, so I had to play with transparency and yeah. And I'm showing you, I'm going to line, and that's to line my work, and that's a Staedtler pigment liner in size 0.2. And I really love these pens. They're water resistance, so they work very well with watercolors or Inktense like I'm going to use on this project. And I will link to all the products I used on my blog, so I will put a link to my blog under this video in the description box below, and you can go check out the products I've used. I will link the colors if I remember them all, and yep, and then you can have a look for yourself. So I'm tracing with my point to all the little balls. And now I'm going to show you that, and then I'm going to switch to a finer, a 0.1, yep, and draw the outside of the jar, because I wanted it to be finer. I decided to line this work because I wanted to scan it into my computer and maybe use it black and white on whatever I need for my branding. And I'm changing back to 0.2 for the tails of my threads to be consistent with the balls. And I'm switching to a 0.5 to do what's behind, what's suggested. And I think it worked quite well. Did I say 0.5? It's 0.05, it's the finest I've got. And here you go. And I'm going to erase all my lines. And I'm showing you a little bit, and then I'm going to switch off camera. Yep. And that's it. And I'm really sorry the table is moving a lot. I've got my tripod on the table, and when I'm drawing and erasing and coloring, it tends to move a little bit. And so I'm showing you the Inktense I'm going to use. I think the orange are cadmium orange and tangerine. For the reds I use crimson and cherry. And the greens I use spring green for the lightest one and field green for the darkest one. So I'm going to apply a layer of my lightest colors on all the balls and activate that with some water. I can't remember right now the brand of my water brush. Go have a look. It might be a stick in medium size. I will link to it in my blog post. And I really like Inktense. It's watercolors, but it's not paint, it's ink. So once you've activated all the pigments, it's actually permanent. It doesn't move as much as watercolors. So what I'm doing is my lightest layer, my highlights, and I will go back and add more colors and shading to the balls and the threads. I had a lot of fun doing that. It took me about an hour to draw this jar and the threads and color that in. Which is not too bad, as it is quite big. The paper is size A4, so it's just under 8.5 by 11. It's not quite 8.5 by 11. It might just under. I'm not quite sure exactly what size it is, but it's not as big as an American letter, I think. And I'm going back to add some shadows. And I'm trying to have the light coming from the top right, but I'm not too fussed if it doesn't look right, because that's going to be shrunk down to a very tiny size for my icon, so it doesn't really matter so much if it's not perfect. But it looks good at the end. I'm quite pleased with it. I'm really sorry, it's really wobbly. I must have been pressing hard on those pencils without realizing. And I usually when I used my Inktense pencil, I go for watercolor paper. But I wanted to try this Bristol board I bought a few weeks back, a couple of months back actually, because it's been in my stash and really it should be used. So it's okay. It did buckle a little bit, but not so much that it's bothering me. I didn't use a lot of water. Maybe I'll try a different brand of Bristol board next time to see if there are some differences. It's 300 grams, so that must be 140 pounds, I think. But it's very smooth, and I really like that. That's something about watercolor paper I don't like all of the time is the texture. Especially when you go for higher quality papers, you get a lot of texture. They're quite rough, especially the cold press. So I really enjoy the smoothness of this paper. So I'm adding some more colors here. It's looking good. And I know I'm going to miss out on a bit of footage. So I'm going in with my darkest color right now, in case you didn't notice. Um, and I think at some point I'm going to forget to record. Not right now. I think there's still a little bit of footage. I'm adding some shading and some colors. And let me know in the comments if you enjoy this kind of video and if you want me to keep changing the media I use, or if you want me to stick to the one like watercolors or like I did in the last few weeks, or if you'd like to see me tackle other mediums like acrylic paint, for example. I'm not a huge acrylic painter. I do have a few, and I need to work on my acrylic painting skills. So if you're interested in seeing some of that, just let me know in the comments. And yeah, I'm starting the shading on my jar. I think the color I used for the first layer of shading was dark aquamarine, which is a grayish blue, maybe. That's how you would describe it. It's very pretty. It's maybe a grayish teal. It would be more uh, a better way of describing it. And so I'm adding colors to the side, but not up to the line because I want to have some reflected light. And that's where I forgot to press record. I added some shadows under the jar with my neutral gray pencil, and I'm adding some more, and I'm adding some purple. I think it's violet, and then I'm going to add some blue. No, that's the purple. And then I think I'm going in with some iris blue. Yeah, that's iris blue to have some reflected light, I guess. And I really like that. I'm quite pleased with how it looked under there. And now I'm adding more shading to my jar with a little bit of neutral gray direct from the pencil. And if it's too dark, I just wipe it on a piece of paper on the side. You can't see it, but I've got a piece of paper to clean my brush. And if you're quick, you can actually move the ink. And I'm adding some shading under this ball of yarn. And I realized that I didn't shade under the green ball, and that's something I will do off camera because that doesn't look right now. It looks a bit flat. So I add a few pictures so you can have a look at how it looks when finished. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.